Good evening, Coyote fans. Welcome into episode 23 of the Howling podcast. My name is Jordan Decker. Tonight, once again, joined by Chad Berger and Mart Wendt. As always, catch us on X at HowWithUs3. If you're watching on YouTube, there's my Chad's and Mark's X handles. For those listening, it's at JD605. Mark is at WDiamond605. And then Chad is at Chad Berger, BIRGER at Chad Berger. Quick disclaimer to start the episode, as always, the opinions on this show are strictly ours and not those of USD or the USD Athletic Department. Tonight's show, once again, brought to you by the Wakanda Peach Company out of, officially, Burbank, South Dakota. Wakanda Peach Company, where all your peach dreams come true. Tonight, we welcome back Dr. O. Great insight as always, especially she's going to be mediating between Chad and Mark's feud that happened last week. And we will do our best to recap the very busy week that was in Coyote Athletic. Look forward to what's ahead. With that, I welcome in Chad and Mark. Gentlemen, good evening. You guys okay? Everything good?
I'm good.
Yeah, we actually, we'll get into this later, but we spent quite a bit of time together on Saturday, so we've hashed everything out, hopefully. But it's been a good week.
Good.
For both of us personally, I guess, but a little challenging for the Yotes on some of the athletic accomplishments. So we'll go over those here next. And so we'll pull up the results here. Men's golf, we mentioned men's golf was playing last week on the show. Men's golf played at the Loyola Intercollegiate in Goodyear, Arizona. The Yotes finished in sixth place as a team at 10 under. Logan Hammock finished 10th overall, top individual finisher for the Yotes at shooting a -6. Cole Witherow was a -2, finished 24th, and then Max Schmidtke -1 to finish in 28th. Women's golf played at the Rio Verde Invitational in Rio Verde, Arizona, not to be confused with Mesa Verde from Better Call Saul, but that's a different issue. The Yotes finished 18th in that one. Top individual finishers were Ella Greenberg and then Ava Schroeder. Men's basketball had a win on Wednesday night at home over St. Thomas, got all of our hopes up. And then Saturday went down to Omaha and lost. Now, I'm going to point something out right now, but final score, Yotes scored 85 in the win on Wednesday and then 85 in the loss on Saturday. The women played on Thursday against Omaha, lost 71-57, scored 57 points in that one, and then played Saturday at St. Thomas and lost 66-57, scored 57. When was the last time that both of our basketball teams scored the exact same total in both of their games in the same week? That's a very interesting tidbit there.
December 13th, 2003.
No.
You're just making that up.
I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't think that's weird.
Yeah, weird stuff. Additionally, softball had a pretty good weekend here. Played the A&Ms down in Texas. Prairie View A&M split with them 1-1, won 4-1, and then lost 8-4 on Saturday. And then Sunday went 2-0 against East Texas A&M, 3-2 and 8-4 W's. They do play again against East Texas A&M on Monday. Additionally, lots more results here. Track and field, lots of stuff happened. A school record was broken in the women's 60-meter hurdles. The Yotes jumped really high in both the high jump and pole vault victories, as well as really far victories in the long jump and triple jump. They also had many other great performances by the Yotes. You can go on to goyotes.com and see all the recaps of all those running events and track and field and all that stuff. Swimming and diving also finished second overall in both the men and the women. And women's tennis hosted Northern Illinois in Sioux Falls on Friday, lost that one 4-3, and then Sunday played at Iowa State and got shut out in that one 7-0.
Are we gonna really quick? Are we diving? Pun intended, diving into swimming and diving at all? If not, I just wanted to mention some of the stats and stuff. Are we going into that at all or no?
No.
Okay, so really quick. Go to goyotes.com. There's a lot of results. Oh, that's just me on the screen. Cool. But there was a lot of really great individual performances. There were several three-peats for first place by a lot of the student athletes. So goyotes.com, click under the swimming and diving page, and it's similar to track. There's just a ton of results to check out there, but really great job, and congrats to the swimming and diving team this weekend.
Jordan, we're gonna leave you on the screen for just a moment. Just
Okay.
real quickly, the term three-peat is actually a trademark term. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a little disclaimer up here, just so we've got everything squared away. But I want to make sure we do a little CY, cover our rear end here. The three-peat is a term used on the website. So Pat Riley, if you're watching, don't send us the bill, please. Okay, that was actually used on the website.
You might be the eye chart because Riley does not have an E in it with Pat Riley.
Okay. Well, I'm going on the fly here. I was not going to explicitly use that term because I don't want a guy with slick back hair coming at me. So
that's fair.
All right. Well, let's go ahead, and now that we've kind of gone over the recap of everything, let's go ahead and bring in Dr. O to talk with us again on the couch with Dr. O.
Hello.
Hey,
how are you all?
We are very blessed to have you with us, Dr. O. We always enjoy getting some insight from you, having some positivity when we have quite a bit of negativity sometimes that happens in our show, Jordan. So we try to stay a little positive and everything. So did want to bring up, you were selected as the professor of the game for the game last Sunday. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how that selection process works for some of us that might be interested?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I am delighted to be back. I love to come and chat with you. As you know, I'm a school psychologist, and I also like to say these are my opinions are my own. But how did this work? I was nominated from my school. So I am a professor in the School of Education, and I was nominated by the administration, and that goes to the Office of Academic Affairs. And then since they got that nomination, they contacted me and they said that they would like me to be the professor of the game. And would I like to be the professor of the game during our rivalry game, USD versus SDSU? And of course, I said, that is the best game. So I would be delighted to be there. So that is how that worked. And I just felt so honored. It was really exciting to be a part of that atmosphere and really feel the love. I think that athletics are just as important as academics, and these are student athletes. And so I'm excited to see us really elevate academics on that floor. So anyway, it was such an honor to be there, and so many people were so kind.
Well, we enjoyed it. We were there cheering you on, and it was great to see you out there and being a good friend of the show. So I brought this up because Mark did actually bring this up last week on the show. And so I'm going to pull up the video right now and show the video. Wow. All right. See if we can get this on here.
This afternoon, our friend and frequent guest, Dr. O, was awarded Professor of the Game today. So, Chad, maybe you can tell us what that feeling's like.
I've never won. I don't know.
No.
Thanks
no.
for bringing it up. Wow.
Shout out Dr. O, but that is a blow below the belt.
He controls the ticker. I feel like
Wow. So, was Mark out of line? Maybe that's me.
It's just so bad. Oh, guys, can't we just all get along? I think there's a lot going on in the state of affairs, but because of this and because I have such admiration for all of you and for the work that Chad Berger does, and I believe that someday he will be the professor of the game, I've decided right now to bring up 4 people that are famous actors that have never won an Oscar, yet we all love them. The 4 people I'd like to bring up are Samuel L. Jackson, Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, and Ryan Gosling. So if they are those great actors and have not yet won the Oscar, I believe that Chad Berger can be a great professor and not yet be the professor of the game. And perhaps next year you could be the professor of the game during the rivalry game.
If I controlled the ticker right now, it would say Chad Berger, Ryan Gosling of USD.
Yeah, that's right. There it is. He's
there we go. There we go.
See?
Except Chad wasn't a liability as a cornerback on defense.
I was going to say we should clip this, and then you throw that in there.
You can still clip it. There was a pause. I let there be a pause.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will say that the things that I am seeing, though, is that we are making investments in academics, which I think are so important. And I know that there are more and more professors maybe coming to some of these games, and I like seeing that. So that is my hope with some of this stuff. Now, can I have like just a few moments of a little nerd talk? Do I get to have nerd talk time?
Yep.
Okay, I'm obsessed with this. So I leave. So the reason I was not at the game this week is because I was at the National Association of School Psychologists National Conference. And one of the things that I cannot stop thinking about is how all these Summit League teams are winning at home. And so I decided that I wanted to bring you guys 3 ideas on why I think teams are winning at home. And I want you to think, tell me if you think they're fact or fiction, and based on what literature is telling us about it. What do you guys think? Are you in?
Let's go.
Okay, here we go. All right. The first one is it fact or fiction that it's the home crowd and having a familiar setting? What do you think, Mark?
I think that is mostly factual. Yes.
You think? How about you, Jordan?
Mostly factual. I think the familiar setting.
Okay, what do you think, Chad?
Well, if you've ever watched the movie Hoosiers, you know that the height of the rim is the same and the width of the lane is the same no matter the gym. So I'm going to go fiction on this one.
Oh, I love that we're splitting. This is so good. Okay, so it has actually, they've been shown that it's fiction, interestingly enough. So it is kind of what Chad's saying in that because it is the same field, they actually said that even the decibels, they kind of thought that the decibels of the fans would be different and that would change the name of the game. But it turned out that did not. So kind of interesting. Although I will say there is still something that science can't quite quantify, which is, again, that I think it's that belief in self, right? So there is a little bit there. Okay, how about this? Fact or fiction? Does it matter what the schedule is? Is that part of the home advantage? Is it the schedule?
Meaning who you played before, or?
Yeah, just like the home. Is that part of the home court advantage? Is simply the schedule?
Well, I think there's something to that. If you get to sleep in your own bed and you're not on a bus, and yeah.
Okay, so you're going to say fact. How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I would say that's tough. I would say fact for the same reason that Mark.
Okay, how about you, Chad?
I'm going to say fiction because they both said fact.
Okay, all right. I like it. Okay, this one, they were right. Fact, right? It's this idea that you are sleeping, you are getting your routine, you are getting, the other thing they talked a lot about is when you, I heard this a lot with the game that we just had with the women's basketball team is having kind of exhausted legs, right? So they said especially true for like soccer players and basketball players. So I thought that was interesting. Okay, now this one is going to make you guys all mad. As eye chart of the week people. Okay, so fact or fiction for home court advantage. Is it fact or fiction? Referee bias.
That's fact. That's fact.
What do you think? Okay, Jordan?
I would say fact. It seems like we get that all the time at the SCSC. Like we just never get a home court advantage for that. So I'm going to say fiction. I'm going to go away from mine.
What do you think, Chad?
Oh, I'm a huge referee guy, so I'm going to say fiction completely on this one. The referees do not give advantages to the home team or the visiting team.
Okay, so again, I want to keep in mind that, I am an academic, so I don't like to overgeneralize. So I will tell you that this is from a study that was done on soccer teams. So it was done in soccer teams over in Europe, looking at referee bias. And they were looking at
Can I
referee
change my
bias.
answer then? Hold on.
And the referee bias was that they were more biased on home teams, meaning that they were more likely to root for or choose in favor of home teams. Isn't that interesting?
Doesn't
Yeah,
show
but
at
we're
the
talking about
SCSC
soccer in
ever.
Europe.
It was
Yeah.
soccer in Europe. So I just say that to you, like, well, what do I think is happening there? I mean, what's actually probably going on is the impact of not wanting to let people down, right? Human influence. I don't know, kind of interesting. They did not study basketball though. So these are not like the Summit League refs. Our Summit League refs would not, buy into that. Okay, how about this? One last thing to think about, just because I think this is interesting. Okay, so if we were thinking about the winning percentage, so if you were the percentage of increase that you were, I think I have to think about how to say it. If you are at home, what percentage of likelihood do you have to win? Like, what is that actually giving you? Instead of just having a 50-50 chance of winning, what percent chance do you think that you have of winning if you are playing at home? If you are in the NBA?
The NBA.
The NBA. That was the closest I could get to D1 basketball. What do you think, Jordan?
I would say 60%.
Okay. Mark?
I'm going a little under that. I'm going to say like 55.
Okay, what do you think, Chad?
Well, I was going to say 54.
Yeah, they were one of the highest NBA home court advantage, 62.7%. Wow. So this is why, okay, last thing, and then I'll let you guys go, but this is why I find home court advantage fascinating. So you actually really do have a pretty significant advantage, and they can't, I mean, what is it really boiling down to is that you likely have a little bit of a better schedule. You've gotten a little bit more rest. Some of us kind of feel like we're the difference. I do see that. Like, I think about what's been a difference maker for the men's basketball team. Think about all those football players they're cheering like maniacs. That's helping them, I think. I feel like it. The environment's exciting and it's helping them, and it's momentum. I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting. And the fact that it's happening all over the Summit League. So what's going to happen when we get to a neutral site? Well, I know. Mark. Mark, that's supposed to be exciting. Oh, Dr. Roy had a big insight.
Yes, that is great insight. And it just goes to show that, like, we really need to do a good job of bringing the SCSC up to the Summit League tournament, right?
Yeah.
Bring some of that home court advantage. We already have advantages for, travel distance and things like, things along those lines. And so make that crowd component a part of it as well.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, you guys, I know Chad in particular, you were a football player at a college level. So what is it? Does it just kind of just get you pumped up because you feel like other people are with you?
Yeah, I don't really know. I guess I never really thought about the difference between home court advantage or home field advantage versus away. But yeah, I guess sometimes there's different things that go into it, like, especially if you go on a long road trip, there's developing bonding or camaraderie with your teammates. Because when you're at home, you don't necessarily hang out with them the same amount of time or things along those lines. But yeah, it's just interesting. So I'll be interesting to see how this week turns out. The women's team is at home. They only have one game this week on Saturday. And so just having that rest and not having to go on the road during the week, and will they be able to get, rested up and ready to rock and roll on Saturday? Whereas the men's team just took a tough trip down to Omaha, got back, in the wee hours of the morning, and then has to turn around and go up to Fargo again on Wednesday in the middle of the week before coming back home for that finale on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see how those turn out.
I know. It's just been fascinating. Plus, I just think, a lot of potential here, right? Always believe and better show up.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then maybe you boys could also just be a little nicer to each other. I mean, just a notch nicer to
How do I
each
do
other.
that?
No,
These
nobody's. Oh. Although maybe this is your way of showing love. Maybe we can get into that next time. How do we show love to one another, and who wasn't showing you love? Okay, just kidding. Okay, nothing.
Tough love. There's some things that's tough love, right? You gotta, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us again, Dr. O. We always appreciate the insights, and you are so positive and such a great influence on us, and so we really appreciate that, keeping us grounded and making sure that we believe in the Yotes.
That's good. That's good. I'm always happy to do that. All right. Have a great week.
Thanks,
and
Dr.
stay
O.
positive. Go Yotes. Go Yotes.
Yeah, go Yotes. All right. Dr. O is awesome. Love it.
Much needed positivity every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Mark, let's go ahead and go through some news and notes here then. Next up, see if we can get that up on the screen here.
Yeah, news and notes. Unite for USD. Was that 48 hours? 24 hours? I forget now. But that begins on Tuesday. So you'll have opportunities to give to each and every flavor of USD you can think of there for 24 hours. As we mentioned earlier, swim and dive team, men and women, both finished second behind Denver at Summer League Championships. Congrats to them. Football news, O-line coach and one of our stalwarts on the O-line, Bryce Henderson, appeared to be headed to Vanderbilt. Grace Larkins, really good at basketball. She's inching ever so closer to second all time behind catching Nicole Seekamp. And Chad and I, despite our spat last week, Sunday, went on a road trip to Omaha, which we'll get into here in a little bit.
All right. Well, let's jump into the recaps of the basketball games next. To start off with, we mentioned on Thursday night, the Coyote women played Omaha. Oh, no, sorry. This is the women played Omaha in Baxter Arena down in Omaha, and came out on the short end 71-57. Fell behind early 14-11 in the first quarter, came back, fought back, and kept it close at halftime. But then that third quarter and the fourth quarter just kind of doomed the Yotes here in front of 475 fans in Baxter Arena. We'll pull up a few of the stats here individually. Alexi Hempy had 20 points, Grace Larkins 13, Carly Duffney 9, Gabby Wilkie 8. And then as far as rebounds go, Grace Larkins led the charge with 7 rebounds for the Yotes and 7 assists as well. Comments, gentlemen?
Especially the second half, I felt like that was probably our worst performance we've had in a long time up to that point. We didn't look really good at all. And they were running a lot of people at Grace, like we should expect at this point, 2-3 people at Grace, and then our offense just struggled.
I believe the difference of the game, the end of the third and then the start of the fourth, I believe it was 14-0 run by Omaha, which that's the obvious difference. But one thing, you guys, look at the minutes of the starters. 35, 37, 40, 28, 34. 3 other players played 8, 14, and 4 minutes.
Yeah.
They just ran out of gas. Especially, well, we'll get into the St. Thomas one, but this game, I mean, that's a lot of minutes for those guys or gals, whatever. That's the thing that stood out to me the most. Sorry, I got to squint here. The second half, 10 of 28 from the field. It's just the legs. Omaha is not a bad team, but I think we're now one or like a half game ahead of them in the standings. I think. And they've got 2 games this week. So it could get very interesting.
Right.
Potentially.
Right.
for the play-in game.
Yeah, we've just been bogged down offensively. It's been a long time since we've scored even 70.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the next game here too, but
well, let's
yeah.
go. Let's just jump into the next game. So we mentioned Saturday, played at St. Thomas. First quarter, 24-14 lead. And then played even with them in the second quarter. So obviously the Yotes are up by 10 at halftime. I'm listening on the radio, Jerry P's on the call as I'm driving down to pick up Mark. And the third quarter's, kind of not going great. Not a lot of shots dropping in there. They come back and, essentially tie the game there at the end of the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter, just none of the shots are falling for USD. Only scoring 7 points in the fourth quarter, and that was the difference in the game. 66-57 was the final, and if you look at that fourth quarter, you can see 16-7 was the score there. So that's the difference.
I've never seen a fourth quarter like that. We were literally shooting 0% till a minute 20 when we finally made a field goal. It was kind of remarkable to watch, really. Again, offensive struggles, obviously, and it started really great. We scored 24 points in the first quarter and had 8 3-pointers, I believe, in the first half, and it just shut off in the second half completely.
Well, let's jump into some of the individual stats here. Grace Larkins did finish with 21. Gabby Wookie had 14. And then no one else hit double digits on the game. Rebounds-wise, Alexi Hempy had 8 rebounds. Grace had 8 rebounds. Grace also had 9 assists. But I think the triple-double watch was on in the first half. Is that right, Mark?
Correct, yeah. I think she was 15, 7, and 8, something like that at halftime. And obviously, like we mentioned, everything shut off in the second half there. So it was a struggle.
Look at the minutes again. 40, 36, 38, 36. So I think this is, it's the last week of the regular season, but a much needed full week break for these gals to kind of regroup before Denver, which is a very winnable game. And then obviously before the tournament. But yeah, I didn't get to catch this one. I was just catching up on the highlights. But yeah, the 2 of 17. Were they close? Like, were they good looks at least?
A lot of really good looks. Like we've had, they were like the Omaha game. They were running people at Grace, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
2-3 people, kick out, a lot of wide open, good look threes, catch and shoot type threes. And we just could not make one, especially in the fourth quarter where it was crazy how many shots we missed there. So,
well, and that moves the Yotes. They won't have another road game the rest of the year, but that they finished 1-10 on the road this season.
It's almost like Dr. O came on here and knew that was the story, right? Talking about the difference for those of you that are watching out there on YouTube land. If you want to jump in on some of the comments, you can. Just remember, if we show your comments on the show, that doesn't mean we necessarily agree with those or anything. But Darren did comment and said we have 3 of the top 5 players in minutes played in the conference. And then kind of what Jordan said earlier, the ladies are just gassed right now. So
yeah,
a lot of things going on there. So yeah. So, upcoming this week for the Yotes, the midweek one is kind of on a bye. Dr. O, so smart.
yes.
Yes, she is.
That's why we have her on here. She's the best. But as far as conference standings go, South Dakota State still undefeated in the conference, 14-0. Oral Roberts is 13-3. Make sure I've got the right standings here. North Dakota State 9-6, St. Thomas 8-6, Kansas City 6-8, North Dakota is 5-9, and then South Dakota is 5-10. And you mentioned the away record is not so great on this one. It says 1-7 on the season with 1 home game to go. So 4-3 at home in the conference season. And then Omaha is right behind us at 4-10, and then Denver's at 1-13. So it looks like we're, right there with North Dakota and Omaha, and as far as the conference seedings go, conference tournament seedings. So we're going to go over all of that in the show next week, and we hope to have a guest on to talk about the conference tournament preview and how that all works. But right now, it's like too close to call. We can't really predict where the Yotes are going to end up. There's a lot of other factors that are going to come into play here.
I can't remember if the bracket, I mean, you can obviously put the conclusions together at the end of Saturday night, but I can't remember if they release like the official bracket Saturday or if they just wait until the early morning on Sunday to release it. But
I don't remember either.
Check. I mean, it'll be all over social media. If you don't already follow the Summit League on social media, just check there.
And either way, our show is on Sunday night, so we will have it on the show next Sunday night. So that's the good. Yeah. So you can tune in and catch that during the show next Sunday night. All right. Well, let's jump ahead then. Mark, you had mentioned about where Lark the Shark is at in career totals here, so I'll let you go through this.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to highlight some of these. Obviously, if you're rooting for Grace to catch Manny Copeland points, we're going to need the Yotes to win a couple games here in the Summer League tournament, looks like, barring something really miraculous. But get up to the senior night here coming up. Certainly, Nicole Seecamp's within reach next game. Mm-hmm. And she did pass. She did move into fourth place in assists all time this week with her work that she did. So, like we've been saying here for a long time, Grace Larkin's really, really good at basketball. One of the all-time greats at USD, as evidenced by this particular slide.
She can move up in pretty much all of these, a spot or two.
Yeah, I think assists might be, I mean, depending on how many games they win, I guess, might be.
That's true.
Tricky,
assists might be a little. Free throws made for sure.
Going to finish no worse than top 7 in 5 categories all time at USD, which.
That's just crazy.
Very, very crazy.
Yeah. Ditto on Get Out There Saturday. Like, I know a lot of our fans are kind of whatever about the team, but it's still going to be senior day. Show some respect to the seniors. You get one last chance. If you aren't going to go to Sioux Falls, I'd still encourage you to. But this is one last chance to see Grace in Vermilion play.
We might have something planned for that game.
Hey, let's not break any copyright laws here. We don't want to get any.
Didn't I already do that once? So you're gonna have Spielberg and Pat Riley coming after us?
Yeah. Goodness gracious, Jordan! Like, I'm not made of money here. The Wakanda Peach Company only has so much cash.
They can handle the lawyer fees. It's fine.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's jump ahead to the men. So Wednesday night played at home in front of 1,814 fans and came out on top of St. Thomas 85-80. Now, this was a big win. St. Thomas at the time was on the top of the conference leaderboard. And it was just one of those games where the Yotes just played a really solid game. Started off a little slow, however, down, I think, 11 at one point early on in the first half, but then fought back and got it within 2 at halftime. And it actually should have been tied at halftime. I'm going to say this. The refs did call a goaltending call on Dre Bullock, and I've watched the replay of that multiple times, and I still do not see how that was a goaltending. But whatever.
I mentioned this to you guys at the game. This is one of my things I would love to see changed in basketball. The guy that makes the call on the floor should not be able to look at the review. Let the other, the guy that called the goaltend, he had a rough night. Why is he looking at it? Shouldn't have. That's just me. It's a little thing, but I'm with you, Chad. I watched it. I'm like, unless they thought it was coming down.
There's no way it was coming down. No
it
way.
wasn't coming down. The only argument would be is it hit the backboard first. Then you can't.
It did not. I
agree.
I watched the spin and the trajectory of the ball multiple times in slow motion, and it did not.
Agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. But the other thing about the review of those, I've never even the totally egregious. They never overturned that call ever. I've never seen them overturn. But that was a fun game, regardless of that particular call.
The second half went the Yotes' way, and really at the end there, just phenomenal play, and it was great. One of our former guests, Max Burchell, hit a huge 3-pointer to put the Yotes up near the end of the game there, and it was just a great win for the Yotes. We'll pull up some of the individual statistics here. Chase Forte had 30 points. Now, it was Star Wars night, guys, right? They gave out lightsabers. They had all kinds of goofy things going on. But I thought one of the best things was David Brown at the end of the call of the game said, "May the Forte be with you." And I was like, yes, that is
awesome.
Yes. So shout out David Brown.
Yeah, David Brown's a really good one to listen to.
Yep.
That's awesome. May the Forte be with you.
Did a great job there on the call. Brad knew it. Brad might need to up his Star Wars knowledge a little bit, but I'll tell him that to his face. I'll see him on Tuesday. So
you know what I loved about this one is 30 total fouls between the two teams. If you recall, the road game up at St. Thomas that lasted literally almost 2.5 hours, 59. So I know we were kind of complaining about the officials and the inconsistencies of that crew, and rightly so, in my opinion. 30 fouls, half the fouls. It was great. Good flow.
Yep.
Right.
Let them play. And so one of the things was that the Yotes actually went in the second half to a small ball lineup, right? So having some injuries to some of the big guys on the squad has, put the Yotes in a tough position. And we saw this in the second half against South Dakota State last Sunday, and then did it again here against St. Thomas. And you can see that Chase Forte actually led the team in rebounds with 9 as well. But the small ball lineup seems to get some good traction and seems to be working, especially against a team like St. Thomas that has big guys, but their big guys want to shoot 3-pointers the whole time.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, it definitely injects a lot of energy into the team. It seems like when we go small, get on a little.
Do that up there. I don't recall. So good.
That game was a long time ago, Jordan. I've forgotten.
I know.
Dre Bullock. So in-game dunks, phenomenal, right?
Yes.
Like, how are we going to describe these in-game dunks that he's got?
He's going for Sports Center #1 play. That's what he's going for, and it's close multiple times.
He emphatically dunks it. Like, I feel bad for that basketball. Like, he doesn't just throw it down. He I don't know what the ball said to him or the rim, but he just takes it out on the rim.
Definitely some mean intentions behind him.
Yes.
And, one of the other things I noticed in the game on Wednesday night, we obviously, the Yotes have a really solid rotation going on and get a lot of guys in and a lot of guys out. But, when guys come in and their number gets called, they got to step up and make a play. And Javon Hill came in on Wednesday night, and he didn't put in a lot of minutes, 6 minutes total, but he had an opportunity to make a big 3-pointer and hit it, and he delivered when he had that opportunity. So that was a big one.
Yep, no hesitation, pulled the trigger.
Yeah, I like seeing Javon and Shea out there. I'm still big fans of them. I'm excited to see their careers continue to grow. One last stat. FT, follow that column all the way down. Look at that number.
Right.
24 of 25 from the line. I was thinking it the whole game. I was sitting right next to Mark, and I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. I can't say anything.
Why not?
We were perfect. Up until I think, 19 or 20 or 20, something like that.
But why can't you say anything about that?
It's a jinx.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing.
I
that jinx is
guarantee
not
to you,
real.
because the one time I was thinking about it, it was I think we were 17-17 at the time. I can't remember who was at the line, but I started to reach over to nudge Mark, and I went no. And guess what? He made both of them. So whatever. Take
So,
that.
all right, we did trivia here a few weeks ago. We're gonna go and do quiz right now. What percentage is 24 out of 25?
96.
Oh, Jordan! Wow. All right, 96.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, sure you were. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump ahead then. Saturday, Chad and Mark made a little road trip. Jordan was nowhere to be found. But we went down to Omaha, and Mark, talk us through these pictures.
Yeah, so this is kind of a one in Rome kind of deal. We went to Runza, had lunch. We also stopped at Paulie's, and I don't remember the name of the other bar we went to. It had a weird name. Do you remember, Chad?
The Turf Club.
The Turf Club, yeah. And then obviously we went to the basketball game. Chad's lovely wife was with us as well. And we sat up in section 215 and had a pretty good time, aside from the start of the game. The end of the game, we were all on our feet and ready to go. But overall, first, with the lack of mirrored scheduling, first road trip I've been on in a very long time for basketball, and really enjoyed it. So thanks for Chad to driving us up and back, and I'd do it again sometime.
So in all of these pictures, you can see the Runza one on the top left, and then the Turf Club one on the bottom left. I was, doing something with my hands, and Mark had his hands in his pockets. And so when we went to Paulie's, I was like, I'm sticking my hands in my pockets for this one. And then Mark did something with his hands on that one. So
Those are so awkward.
yeah. Oh, it's great, Jordan. It's great.
Next year I'll clear my I'll clear my calendar.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
And that was somewhere in the middle of America, right?
Somewhere, yeah. That's a different school, I think. But the Yotes ended up on the short end here, 93-85. Scored 85 points in both games during the week, but this one, unfortunately, Omaha came out on top. The Yotes really got down big early. Just kind of a slow start there. Really had to fight to get it close at halftime. And then the second half did not start out well for the Yotes at all. I think at one point, the Yotes trailed Omaha by 21 points in the second half and had to fight furiously at the end to get it back within striking distance, getting that lead down to 3 points at one point. Was that correct, Mark, or was it 2?
Ooh, I thought it was 5, but you might be right. It was definitely
it was 3 points at one point, if I remember correctly.
I know we were all standing up thinking like maybe this was going to happen, but you're right. Like for 34 minutes, the first 34 minutes of that game, it was just like, well, it's just one of those nights. So I guess we'll just lick our wounds on the way home. And then all of a sudden, I think we went small again. I would have to check the lineup at the time, but we sure made them nervous down the stretch. So
yeah,
no quit.
No quit in these Yotes. I wouldn't want to play against them in the tournament. Chase Forte ended up with 25. He kind of had a slow start in the first half, and most of this 25 was in the second half. Dre Bullock finished with 19, Isaac Bruns 10, and Max Burchell had a solid 9. So Max had a pretty good week, averaged over double figures between the two games. As far as the game goes, not optimal shooting here. 8 for 29 from 3-point. The free throws were good, 23 for 28, but overall just not enough points, not enough stops.
I think Isaac had 20-something in the last game against Omaha. Pretty similar scoring, too. I think we beat him like 90-87 or something, but
right.
I was preoccupied yesterday, so I did not get a chance to watch. What was the difference? I mean, Sutton, I'm looking at the box score. Sutton went off. I mean, arguably a contender for player of the year in the conference.
We had a lot of trouble with 10. That's for sure. If he made his free throws, he's over 40 pretty easy. Yeah, we had trouble guarding him for sure, and we didn't rebound very. Beginning of the game, we stop them. They get an offensive rebound. We stop them again. They get an offensive rebound. We stop them again, and we kick it out of bounds, and then they hit a shot, and that's just kind of how the first 34 minutes went.
So we don't have the team stats on here, Jordan, but you could see Omaha finished with 44 rebounds. The Yotes at 35. So
Gotcha.
And we closed that gap. Really, it was worse than that in the first half for sure. I remember looking up. I think we were down 12 or 13 rebounds total. So
if Omaha plays, because I've seen some of their games this year, if they play like that, they're clear, obviously the number one team, but that they're tough to beat. Like, they are going to be the favorites to win this whole thing. Matchup wise, like what you guys said for Summit League turn, I don't fear any matchup against any other team. We've beaten everyone except the school to the north, and I like our matchups against them. But Omaha, if Markel Sutton's putting up over 35, they've got great depth too.
The other thing too is JJ White. I don't know how this guy does it, but he'll have the ball in his hands with like 1 second left on the shot clock from like 35 feet out, and somehow always drain them. I don't know like why he does that all the time or what the deal is there, but yeah. So my wife also made the trip. She also mentioned that maybe there was a difference. Lance Waddle's number 7 should have been called for his 5th foul at a certain point in the second half there. And Rhett Lamoureux really let us down with that call, but didn't call the foul on the correct individual. And then Lance Waddle scored 4 points after he should have fouled out of the game. So FYI, shout out Jerry Berger for bringing up that statistic on the way home.
Yep. Rhett had
sorry, Mark, go ahead.
I was just going to say Rhett had a rough game for as far as zebras go. So
free throws look pretty good for us. What was the 3-point did not? Were they good looks or were a lot of force because of Omaha's defense? Just not the night. They just weren't going in.
Right. Especially in the first half. The first half was ugly. Like, we didn't.
Now at halftime, they did switch the net out of the basket that we shot in on the first half. They switched the net out of that. So I don't know if maybe there was some electromagnetical force or something. I'm going to throw out conspiracy theories right now, but
it did take them a longer than average time to change that net out.
Mark actually videoed like about 2 minutes of this guy up on a ladder trying to change the net out. But
why would they change that? Interesting.
It's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, and maybe Summit League commissioners can look into this. We'll figure it out.
Send the footage to Commissioner Fenton.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. It was a fun road trip. The Yotes really made that furious attempt to win it at the end, and unfortunately just came up a little bit short. Shout out Coach Peterson. What a great dude.
Yeah.
I don't know, like getting us into the game and just being a great guy, and we really appreciate him. All I got to say about that.
Yep. A+.
All right. Coming up this week, Mark, go ahead and take us through this.
Men's basketball will be up in Fargo. Take on the Bison, 7 p.m. Wednesday night, Summit League Network. And of course, Saturday we have the doubleheader, men and women. The men play at 4 versus UND. The women, the farewell to Grace Larkins and company, 1 p.m. senior night as well. Softball, like we mentioned earlier, they'll finish up their little road trip to Commerce, Texas, and with East Texas A&M on Monday. I believe that's like a 10 a.m. start. And then they're headed out to Virginia, my old stomping grounds when I was in the Navy. Wish I could go. They'll play Norfolk State and Hampton over the weekend. Track and field will be at the Summit League Indoor Championships in up north, beginning on the 28th. Tennis are going to host UConn on the 28th up in Sioux Falls. And you can hang out with me tomorrow night if you'd like. at the OLC, 6 p.m. for the Coyote Report with our friend of the show, John Thayer. We'll host that once again. Coach Amy, Coach Peterson, and a couple student athletes will be in attendance as well. So always a good time.
And if you can't join, you can also watch it on Facebook, right?
Correct. Yep.
So yeah, if you're not able to join Mark at the OLC tomorrow night, watch on Facebook, check out what's going on, listen to the coaches and players. And
it's also on 106.3 out of Yankton. So if you want to go old school.
Yeah. Which we found out is not on a certain national radio app, but
correct.
That station, if Hammer's listening, you might want to fix your listen live button on your website, buddy. But
one more thing to add too, Tuesday morning, I think it's 8 or 10 a.m. single session tickets go on sale for Summit League. I'm fairly positive the guys are locked in at the 4-5 game. I believe that's Friday night. I'm fairly certain that they're locked in at the 4-5 matchup. It's just a matter of seeding the 4 or the 5. But those tickets, single session, go on sale this Tuesday, February 25th at 8 or 10 a.m. probably. So just be on the lookout for that. Friday night, more than likely for the guys. I don't know for the girls at this point. The men and women teams.
Yeah, you mentioned Omaha is now actually at the top of the conference leaderboard for the men's side. St. Thomas dropped another one on Saturday, dropping them to 10-4 on the season. South Dakota State is also at 10-4. And then it looks like North Dakota State is 9-6 and South Dakota is 8-6. So really there's, we play North Dakota State on Wednesday. By we, I mean South Dakota. So, the winner of that game will have the advantage in that one. But then South Dakota has to wrap up the season against North Dakota on Saturday as well. So it really just depends on how things shake out there. But yeah, there's no way that the Yotes can drop below 5th mathematically. And there's no way that the Yotes can jump into the 3rd spot. So mathematically, it's going to be that 4-5.
We're locked in for Friday night.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So watch out for that. All right. And now.
And that's just what they wanted to do there. And all things considered, again, as you see the eye chart cardboard cutout, how appropriate.
Through the review, the eye chart made its way to the video board. It really injected some energy.
For those of you that know, Mark Wendt is famous for holding up his eye chart at games when officials make questionable calls. We are going to nominate our best eye chart moments of the week, whether they're in games or just in life, for people that maybe had questionable calls. So let's go ahead and talk real quickly about the results from last week. Mark, take us through this.
Yeah, so Jordan wins with his overrated fans nominee, took over half the vote at 54.2. And also mentioned that we had over almost 48,000 votes this week.
On 780 views. Good job.
We'll fix that next week. My nominee, University of Illinois, with their upside down jersey retirement, came in second at 29.2, and Chad's nominee, Midco Sports, for I forget the deal up in Brookings, came in third at 16.7.
They had a South Dakota State associate athletic director calling the game.
Correct.
Oh yeah.
So I did talk. We're going to try to clip these and post them with our things so that people that are voting actually know what they're voting on. So
that's
FYI.
Because I voted for yours, Chad.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate
Full
it.
disclosure.
No, I voted for my own. You guys don't do that?
Sometimes. I kind of figured, not to be whatever, but I kind of figured mine would win, so I wanted to spread the love a little bit.
Well, Jordan, since you won, you get to go first.
Okay, so mine this week, I literally decided 5 minutes ago. It's the Sound of USD, and full disclosure, as a alumni of the Sound of USD, I'm sure they have the reasons why they did this. But it's the Sound of USD for not playing the school song right after halftime. Instead, they're in the stands, and the school song is playing on a track over the speakers. I don't know what the reasoning is, but they're sitting there, they got the instruments, but the school song is playing over a track. So I have nothing but respect for that band program. It just caught me off guard a little bit. And I had a pretty decent week, so this is the only thing I could come up with. So that's my eye chart of the week, is the Sound of USD not playing the fight song before the second half on Sunday and on Wednesday this week.
I did not catch that. That's very interesting.
Well, Mark, you finished second, so go ahead.
So, as we mentioned, Chad and I went down to Omaha yesterday, and when you tell people you're going to Nebraska, they invariably tell you to go eat lunch at Runza. This is the second time I've been to Runza, and it is trash. Everything I eat, I get this sticky, pasty yuckiness, no matter what it is. The fries, the onion rings, the whatever those burrito-looking things are. It's just trash. Runza's trash, and they get my eye chart of the week. Like, I'd ban them if I was in charge. Runza sucks.
Just to confirm, it's trash.
100%.
Okay.
And I'll confirm he did literally throw his food in the trash. Like, he did not eat. He bought a burger and some onion rings and did not.
I do have to say, Mark, I think it's overrated. With the amount, I tried it for the first time a few years ago, and the amount of people that hyped it up, and then you have it, and you're like, okay, all right.
If you have, when you go to Omaha or Nebraska and you have to eat Runza, I will never go to Omaha or Nebraska ever again. It's no.
I'm assuming, based on these conversations, we will not have Runza as a sponsor of this show in the future. Then,
probably not.
Okay.
Sorry.
Cross them off the
Yeah.
list.
So yeah, we'll figure something else out for that one. All right, so I'm gonna go next, and I'm probably gonna break the internet on this one. But my eye chart of the week goes to Omaha men's basketball, Omaha athletics department, for bringing in AEW stars, the Outrunners, for the game on Saturday. We heard that they were going to bring in this professional wrestling duo. And what they brought in was a guy that's like 5'3" named Truth Magnum, and another guy named Turbo Floyd that has arms about as thick as pencils. These guys were an embarrassment to be called professional wrestlers. They're two jabronis that they flew into Omaha that don't know anything about pro wrestling. And I challenge both of these Outrunners, Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd, if you want to come to Vermilion next year, Mark and I will wrestle you in a tag team steel cage match at the SCSC. What you gonna do? Let's go! How's that?
You're gonna win.
I have a question. Why am I left out of the tag team?
Yeah, you can be our manager or something. Yeah, let's go.
You're too short.
No, I swear the one guy comes up to Mark's waist. He is very.
We
very
walked
small.
by him, and people were taking pictures with him, and I was like, these people are all confused. These are not the professional wrestlers, because those guys are not very big. But they were. So.
What the heck? That you just created the clip of all clips for us, Chad. What you gonna do, brother? Oh my gosh. This was a good eye chart. Your two, not mine. Your guys's were.
Yeah, well, it's what we do. It's what we do. We have a good time on the show. So if any viewers out there have any nominees for their eye chart, go ahead and send them in.
Oh no, the water boy. God. It's like 8th grade all over again.
So send those in for next week, and we'll try to get him on the show. It's a great time as always, but I don't know. You guys have any final comments here before we take off for the evening?
Get out to Vermilion for senior night, doubleheader. Thank the seniors, and obviously we're saying goodbye to a all-time great with Grace. So I would recommend being there. Will be noticeable.
Piggyback off that. It's a doubleheader. We haven't had one in a while. Like it's at 1 and 4, so it's not like it's going to be super late into the evening. The SCSC is always fun. I'm sure athletics and marketing will work on. They'll have some fun stuff for folks in between the game, but just get out one last chance to see Grace play at home, and then the guys team will be vying, hopefully coming off a big road win in Fargo. And for those folks that are going to Sioux Falls for Summit League, tickets go on sale Tuesday. So just a couple short weeks left. It's crazy.
Yeah, time flies.
Well, thanks so much to Dr. O for joining us again tonight. For Jordan Decker and for Mark Wendt, I'm Chad Berger. Until next time, go Yotes.
Go Yotes.